the early 60s, Graham and I saw that there was a huge gap in the market for clothing and footwear for going on the mountains. And we decided that we would have a go at that. We started with a tiny little shop in Edinburgh, which involved then taking our camper van over to Europe and buying boots from the folk in the south of France, and then travelling over into Italy to get ice axes, crampons, and into Austria, which we had to go in person to get. The market was so tiny and so unknown in the UK at that time that unless we had appeared in person, letters would have just been ignored. One of the things I distinctly remember was an immediate affinity between Peter and Gordon on the one hand and Graham and I on the other, because in the outdoor trade, most of the businesses were headed by a really keen male climber, and they were among the few like us where there were two people, and Graham always emphasised that he thought this was a terrific benefit because you had another person who was equally interested and enthusiastic and could be trusted to give you honest feedback, whereas people, however strong-minded they were only had their own judgment on things. We were quite close friends because I remember them coming up and having dinner at our home, but the information I got back, I can't remember if it was one of them or two, was vegetarian. And that was the first vegetarian meal that I ever made. I remember I made them stuffed peppers, stuffed red peppers. So even there, their thinking was,
quite progressive.
Yeah.
The fact that the business was born out of the northeast of England as well, I think, the proximity to Scotland, I think there was a similar sort of outlook. From the very beginning, Berghaus was a quintessentially British outdoor brand. They really were trying to do things differently and innovate, which is something they had in common, again, with Tiso. And there was a real commitment from the start to produce really good quality technical product that was very much designed and made for use in the very worst British conditions. There was quite an immediate connection there, wasn't there?
One of the significant developments that they did, which struck me as being a big gap in the market that nobody else had thought about filling, was women's last for boots. I got to try one of the first pairs that were made. Now, up till then, women just had to wear the smaller sizes of men's boots. That was the kind of development that they saw and made happen.
They were obviously looking for a partner to try and establish their brand in the Scottish marketplace. As I say, they recognised that in order to gain real authority and credibility with the outdoor consumer in the UK, they really needed to prove themselves in the harsh environment of the Scottish mountains, including in winter. And so we were very much an early adopter. In fact, quite possibly the very first stockist of the brand in Scotland. I don't think it would be immodest to say I think we were largely responsible for establishing Berghaus as a brand in the Scottish market. I think it's great that we have remained such strong partners ever since.
We added a lot of credibility through Graham's prowess in mountaineering, which was widely known. I always loved when we went down to their shop to see what they had on their hangers. Often there would be something new for us to think about, as well as the fact that we were bringing ideas and information to them.
Berghaus haven't just been a key brand partner over the decades, but they have also very much shared our interest in supporting conservation in Scotland in particular, and that interest continues to the current day, with them having just recently committed to supporting an initiative which we launched recently, Connect Outdoors. And I think it's also worth mentioning that collaboration on product innovation and product development also continues, and our respective teams continue to work very, very closely together to try and ensure that we're producing not just product which is commercially popular, but also product which is genuinely going to perform in the environment for which it's designed.